What living well means to me is a troika of things: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. The physical aspect. That doesn't mean you have to be Superman and lift weights every day and work out every day, but it does mean that if you don't take care of your physical aspects, you'll deteriorate, you'll get sick, you'll die earlier. I've been in 90 countries in the world, and every time I come home, I want to say, God bless America. But in the last couple decades, I wanted to add an asterisk to that and say, wake up, America. Last year, obesity-related illnesses cost our government, us taxpayers, billions of dollars plus thousands of lives that could have been saved. That's the very first thing I notice when I come back. Not the beautiful homes, not the lovely weather and etc. Obesity in the airports, in the terminals, is absolutely amazing. Now, do you have to be a giant to work out? No, just simple little things. And we procrastinate. The procrastination is saying, I'm going to start working out. It can be small, you can eventually work into it. I did a series with Shaquille O'Neal in ABC, 6 one-hour specials on obesity with teenagers in America. The sadness that we went through, the young kids, I'm talking about 400-pound 12 and 13-year-old. That's not embellished, 400 pounds. They told us some interesting things. They made themselves very transparent. How many of them thought of committing suicide? How many attempted suicide? How many had no good self-worth to themselves? Because of their physical aspect. They just let themselves go. And it's a shame, but that's the facts of America. The mental aspects. The French call it idée fixe. Whatever you fix in your mind happens. We've become a negative nation. And as a result, our physical, mental, and spiritual aspects have kind of begun to deteriorate. Let me give you an analogy. Walk into any office in the morning. You come into the office, and you, this place sucks. I'm not making enough money yet. It's a terrible job, and the bosses and the owners of this place, and complain about everything. Walk out of the office, not one person will ever say anything. It'll just go silent. Now, the next day, another person comes in. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? Boy, are we lucky enough to have these jobs, and we're lucky to have owners like this, too. And boy, I count my blessings every day. And you walk out of the office. What's wrong with that wacko? We've accepted the negative, but we haven't accepted the positive. We call it Pollyanna. And what the French say, idée fixe, whatever you fix in your mind become, if you continue to think negative, you'll weigh yourself down. No matter what you do physically, mentally, it'll deteriorate what you're doing physically, spiritually. Spirituality and religion are light years apart. Religion is man-made. Spirituality is what God gives us, the ability to love one another, respect each other. I think probably the best example I can give of that is Pistol Pete Maravich. I'd talking to him after he totally gave his life to God and looked for a spiritual self, and he said one night he was so depressed. He said he had everything the world calls happiness. And he said he was so miserable that one night in his home in Louisiana, he said he wandered around the house till about 4 a.m. He went into a vacant bedroom, opened up a drawer and pulled out a pistol. And when he told me that, wait a minute, actually he was thinking of committing suicide. He said, I had everything the world calls success. But he said, I didn't know myself. He said, I sat down in that bed. He said, for some reason, I laid the pistol down. He said, I fell prone on the bed. I didn't even know if there was a God. I mocked him, I spit at him, I made fun of him, I challenged whether there was one. But this particular night, he said, in tears, prone on that bed, I said, if there is a God, somehow, some way, would you please touch my wretched life? Guys, he said, instantly, there was a peace that took over my body. He said, it wasn't that the sun danced in the sky, the sea didn't part. He said, I didn't hear a voice, but he said, I felt the presence of God enter me. And he said, from that day on, Pete Maravich began to know himself. Well, let's go back into history. 1806, first Webster Dictionary describes success: fortunate, happy, kind, and prosperous. Now, that rolled off my tongue pretty easy. Fortunate, happy, kind, and prosperous. Beautiful thing. 2012, we've totally lost our moral compass in this aspect. Now, attainment of wealth, fame, rank, and power. That's not success. Pete Maravich's last 4 years of his life, he wasn't a new born-again Christian or an evangelistic type of guy. He just had a spirituality in him that he wanted to be himself. And I could close this session by saying that how do we get to that point? I remember a poem years ago. I'd rather see a lesson than to hear one any day. I'd rather you walk with me than to merely show the way. The eye's a better teacher and more willing than the ear. The counsel you're giving may be very fine and true, but I'd rather get my lessons by observing what you do. We have to have better mentors. Then what we have to do, we have to ask ourselves, when you get what you want and struggle for self, the world makes you king or queen for a day, just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that person has to say. For it isn't your mother, father, sweetheart, wife, boss, whose judgment upon you must pass. The person whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. Yeah, you may be like Jack Horner and chisel a plum and think you're a wonderful guy, but the man in the glass says you're only a bum if you can't look him straight in the eye. You may get pats on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and tears if you've cheated the person in the glass. So in simplicity, physical, mental, and spiritual, a troika of things. It'll make you feel better. It'll give you vibrancy. You'll reach out and help others, and you'll certainly extend your life.